The Pittsburgh Penguins are returning home after taking 5 of a possible 6 points on a pretty tough road trip. We're going to talk about the shootout loss to the Dallas Stars, get you set for the rest of the week, and talk a little bit of international hockey. We're going to do that right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Monday edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Damp. You can follow me across all social media platforms at synonym for wet. Joined as always by the one and only Hunter Hodes. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can give our show's Twitter account a follow at LO_Penguins. You can also find us on Instagram at LockedOn_Penguins. And we are also on TikTok at Locked On Penguins. Of course, as always, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Don't forget that we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And if you follow us on YouTube, which you should, make sure you've hit that notification button. That way you can be among the first to know when we drop our daily Monday through Friday episodes. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app now, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Stop me, ladies and gentlemen, and Hunter, if you have heard this one before. The Pittsburgh Penguins were losers in the shootout, this time on Sunday evening against the Dallas Stars, a 3-2 loss. But we're not going to worry too much about the loss itself because the Penguins take 5 of a possible 6 points on a 3-game road trip. And that is just about as good as you can ask for, especially when you consider the quality of opponent. You've got the Philadelphia Flyers, who the Penguins appear to be right back in the mix on a rivalry with. So you can just throw out records, rosters, and everything in between when those two teams get together. Then they get a massive win over the Tampa Bay Lightning, silly as that game was, as we talked about in our recap. And then they play pretty damn well for, I'll say, 57 and a half out of 60 minutes against a really, really good Dallas Stars team. Some bad luck with icings and players getting trapped out on the ice leads to them tying the game. But then the Penguins pretty much pick back up where they left off the rest of the game in overtime. They unfortunately can't find the winner. And again, the Penguins shootout struggles continue. So here we are. But on the whole, Hunter, I'll say this. I wasn't worried per se going into the Dallas game because of how well they've played for the most part this season. But kind of the same way I did against Tampa Bay, I go into that game and think, okay, this is arguably one of the biggest tests of the season. They didn't just pass it. They passed it with flying colors because for the majority of that game, they took it to the Stars.
100%. And they were playing a perfect third period until the fourth line was caught out there. Icing happens. And then credit to the Dallas Stars coaching staff for seeing that there was a mismatch there. And they were able to put out basically their 6-man Olympic unit, Pat. That's basically what it is with how much talent that they have with all their star players. And they kept moving the puck around. And I'm like, okay, I feel like it's only a matter of time before they tie this just because the fourth line couldn't get clears. Hell, they couldn't even get the puck because the Stars' top players had it the whole time, and they did a great job distributing it, getting the high-quality chances. And then they found the tying goal with less than 2 minutes to go. Just sucks that was an icing, and the Penguins couldn't put out their main guys for the 6-on-5. Still, one of the things I do think they need to work on is defending 6-on-5 situations. I think it's not just a one-game thing. It's been several games where it just hasn't been as strong as it usually is in past years. So that is something to work on. Not trying to be too negative on the show because I thought they played tremendous against the Stars, but it is something to work on. Outside of that, I agree with you. I thought they were the better team in this one. The underlyings would agree. I mean, they held the Stars to not even 0.5 expected goals at 5-on-5 in the third period. They were keeping them 100% to the outside. It was one of the best third periods I had seen them play before Dallas tied it in the 6-on-5 situation. And by the way, yes, if my voice sounds a bit hoarse today, woke up with a sore throat. I guess it's that time of year, winter starting, where people start getting at least a little bit sick. But again, I love the play of the fourth line before they got trapped in. I thought Achari, his first game back, was really effective, had a nice play leading to Connor Dewar's goal. Blake Lazat was good. And then, of course, Connor Dewar gets the goal. Tommy Novak also had another really good game. Great deflection off of a rocket from Chris Letang, who I also thought played fairly well. I do think Sid was a little bit off tonight. That's now a couple games in a row where his game hasn't fully been there. It's not going to be a long-term thing. We all know he's going to be totally fine, but just it's 2 games where I still we know the level that Sid can play at and the level that he has played at this year, and he's going to find that form for the rest of the season. It's just 2 games where he wasn't at what we saw in Philadelphia, which again, it's fine. But you had the second line, which I actually felt was okay, even with Kevin Hayes filling in for Evgeny Malkin. It doesn't sound like that injury is too serious, but I thought Brazeau was totally fine. His first game back, Mantha had some good quality chances. Defensively, I liked Carlson and Wotherspoon again. I thought Letang and Shea were mostly fine too. The bottom pairing is what it is. Wasn't really good. And then about overtime, Tristan Jarry, kudos to him, man. I mean, he was tremendous all game long. Another high quality start from the Penguins' number 1 netminder right now. He made a couple of saves on Jason Robertson that you just shouldn't be making. I mean, these were insane level saves. And hell, he gave them a shot in the shootout, man. First 2 saves. It's not his fault that the Penguins shooters throw out nothing original. And Pat, let's just get into that right now. It is beyond time for Dan Muse and the rest of the staff to put out new shooters in the shootout. Brian Russ is 2 for his last 12 in shootouts. He does the same move. Chris Letang, he does the same move. Like, if it's not the forehand to backhand, which he usually does, it's the backhand to forehand. I don't need to see it anymore, man. I don't know why he keeps even getting opportunities in shootouts anymore. Sid, I get why when you look at the history, but he also has not been converting on any shootout attempts for the most part recently, and also just does the same thing. A lot of these are the same moves. Give me something original, man, because these attempts were just honestly laughable.
It was a joke. And even putting aside my take that, and I think you saw it with everybody involved on both teams once again, and you've been seeing it throughout the league, that it looks like players are just over this. They're just done with it. They don't want to do it anymore. But you're right. At this point, it can't hurt to try other players in the shootout, especially some of the newcomers and the young players. Just see what they have. Because if there is one thing I will say, even though I do still feel that the players are over this and just done with shootouts, the footage is out there on those 3 guys. Goalies know what they're going to try, and they know how to counter it. So it's both a matter of those players having to adapt and put some new tools in the toolbox, but also the fact that the book's been written, published, and it's probably on the New York Times bestseller list at this point of what moves they're going to try to do. So you really just have to find different moves, different personnel, and try this a different way. I also want to add this about Crosby. I liked his game against the Stars a lot more than I did against the Lightning. I compare the two this way. I thought his game against Tampa Bay was off. I said it as much on the show. I look at his performance against Dallas, and that's a game that Sid has had so many times in his career where it's going to pop. He did a lot of really good things that just didn't either result in a chance or didn't result in a goal. And you look at it and go, all right, it's going to pop here soon because he's doing the right things. He's in the right places. He's making good decisions. He's doing the things that only 87 can do. That was kind of the opposite against Tampa Bay. Against Tampa, he was just a step behind. He obviously took the penalty. He played frustrated. I didn't see that against Dallas. Against Dallas, it was just a night where it wasn't there, and you'll have that. And finally, fourth line, man. They're going to get dinged because they were out there for the tying goal. And I'm not going to totally disagree with what you're saying about they need to get better at 6-on-5. I think they do. But I also think last night was more of a bad luck scenario. They get an icing. They're trapped out there. It's the end of a long shift. Dallas, like you said, essentially has an Olympic level top unit that good luck countering that no matter who you are, let alone the Penguins. But if they're able to get a clear, they're able to get a change, I think they're going to be able to get a better unit out there and probably survive it. But prior to all of that, that was one of the best games I have seen a fourth line on the Penguins play in a long time. And it was vindication for your boy, because that line of Dewar, Lizotte, Achari was making things happen all night long. And that is a really good fourth line if they can keep this level of play.
Yeah, I thought Achari was especially really good in his first game back. I thought Lizotte was great too. All three of these players on the fourth line of Achari, Lizotte, and Dewar, they feed off one another. So it's also why I don't envy the coaching staff. We all know it's probably going to be Hayes when Malkin comes back from this injury. Again, I don't think it's anything serious. They canceled practice today, which is unfortunate because I wanted to see if he was going to be at practice today, but they're home for the next 5 games. So I'll be up at Cranberry this week. I'm sure Gino will be back at practice some point this week, but it's probably going to be Hayes when he comes out, when Gino comes back, right? But when Raquel comes back, I am really curious to see who comes out of the lineup. Is it someone like Tommy Novak, who has been really heating up for the last couple of weeks? Is it Achari, who, again, he's been fitting in really well with Connor Dewar and Blake Lizotte? So I don't know if the coaching staff would break up that fourth line. It's definitely a great problem to have. I'm just curious to see what happens. But they were all over the ice in all 3 zones. Outside of the 6-on-5, I thought they were good defensively. Lizotte was a hound on the puck as usual. Connor Dewar, really nice one-timer to open the scoring. I still think he is the straw that stirs the drink on the fourth line. And then Achari, we all know that he can be physical, but he was also making a couple of nifty little plays with the puck that I was like, ooh, jot that down. So I thought as a whole, the fourth line was very strong in this one. And even though they only got a point, it stinks that they didn't get the regulation win, because that also would have been big. You look at the East right now, they are third in the conference in points percentage, 630, only behind the Capitals and the Hurricanes. If you go to the rest of the standings, they are in the first wildcard spot right now, Pat, but they have games in hand on virtually everyone. 3 games in hand on the Islanders, 1 on the Hurricanes, 3 on the Washington Capitals, and they have 4 games in hand on the New York Rangers. Obviously, the only thing that matters is that you win these games in hand, but the fact that they continue to get points, 4-1-1 in their last 6, this can hopefully mean good things now that they're going to get healthier and they're playing a much better brand of hockey than what we saw for most of the month of November. But I'm getting really close to saying that this is a legitimately good team. I think I have arrived, Pat, at the point where they're going to be in the playoff mix all year. I am very confident in saying that as of this time on December 8th, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, this team will be in the playoff mix all year. But I'm getting closer to saying that this is a legitimately good team. I want to see how the rest of this month goes, but so far, I am a really big fan of the way this team is playing. They passed both of these tests with flying colors. I know the Tampa Bay game, that's a game they won that they should have lost, but then the Dallas game, Pat, that's a game they lost that they should have won. So you got to get a little bit of a hockey karma in there, don't you?
Hockey karma and the hockey gods always balance things out. You can set your watch to it. It always happens. And a big part of the Penguins' success this season so far has been the goaltender, Tristan Jarry. He is playing some of the best hockey we have ever seen him play. So I'm going to ask this question before we go to break, and I'm going to let Hunter ponder it while I read some ads before we come back. But should Tristan Jarry be in the mix for Team Canada? I've got some thoughts on that. We're going to talk about it when we come back right after this. But first, I've got to tell you about today's first sponsor, and that is Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be absolutely massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, not just for the World Cup, but for any event out there. And that is why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup more realistic instead of impossible. And if you're one of those people living here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, guess where some of them matches are going to be? Right across the way in Philadelphia, and Game Time is going to be your place to get the tickets to see the World Cup. All you have to do is pull up the app, and that layout makes it easy to scroll through, find the matchups, compare seats, compare prices, and the best part of all that, you can toggle on your upfront pricing so you're not hit with any of those annoying fees at checkout. You know what you're paying right there. And best of all, seat view right in the app. That way you're not surprised where you're sitting. You know what your view is going to be once you hit the venue. You're not going to be stuck in limited view. You're not going to be stuck behind anything. You know where you're sitting. You know what you're getting. And best of all, you know what you're paying. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets, every match, every concert or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll be getting $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. Back here on the Monday edition of Locked On Penguins, I am Patrick Damp. That's Hunter Hodes. I hope you took the time during the ad break to ponder my question, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm just gonna say it. I think Tristan Jarry should be getting considerations for Team Canada. Now, allow me to add the asterisk. I don't think he makes it. I don't think they take him. But if I'm Doug Armstrong and Kyle Dubas and the rest of Team Canada's management team, it's getting a little bit more difficult for me to at least not consider him. Let's put it this way. You look at Tristan Jarry and the work that he has done this season with the Penguins in the games he has played. It's been a true bounce back season for him. 13 starts, 9 wins, 2.54 GAA, 913 save percentage this season, which is pretty solid for his career. And then if you dive into the analytics of this, I went with minimum 10 games played since against the Stars. That was his 13th. I wanted to put a little bit of weight behind this. According to Money Puck, minimum 10 games played in this season among goalies. Tristan Jarry sits 7th in goals saved above expected per 60 with 0.874. The only Canadian goaltender that is better than him this year is the man who is probably going to be Team Canada's starter, and that is Logan Thompson at 1.114. At this point, I think he's got a case to be considered for Team Canada.
He definitely has one. I agree with you, though. I don't think he's going to make it because they're definitely going to take Jordan Binnington. For as bad as he has been this year, Team Canada's been going to be like, you know what, Pat? He won us the Four Nations. He is going to be there. I would be stunned if he wasn't. Logan Thompson, I 1,000,000% agree. He should be starting for Team Canada, but in the back of my mind, I want them to galaxy brain it and kind of play Binnington just because he hasn't been good this year at all. But yeah, Thompson's going to be there too. You know, you look at in terms of pure goals saved above expected, Jarry is 11th with 11, tied actually with Scott Wedgwood, who is also getting in consideration now for Team Canada. He has been awesome for Colorado this year. So when you have those three, Pat, again, for as bad as Binnington has been, he's still going to go. I would be stunned if he didn't. Wedgwood, he's now getting consideration. Thompson is definitely going to be there. I just think it's going to be a bit tough for Jarry to get on there. And also, it's still only been a couple of months compared to, you know, his overall career. And yeah, he's had good stretches during his career, but it's also been very up and down. I think he'll maybe get a little bit consideration. I don't think he is going to get on the roster, though.
I don't either. I think you're right about Binnington. He's going to get the historical nod because and you can roll your eyes at that, but that's not just a Team Canada problem. That's an international hockey problem.
Right.
Hell, that's a hockey problem, period, is that a lot of guys who have certain pedigrees will get more than one chance, even though at this point, if I'm just looking at this objectively, I don't think Binnington should be on Team Canada. Even though the Blues are woeful, he is a big reason why they are woeful this year. He has not been very good. But then you look at a couple other goalies, Darcy Kemper, Mackenzie Blackwood, and those are all guys who this year are playing a little bit better than him. I will say when I look at the Blackwood and Wedgwood part of it, it's kind of the opposite of what I said about Binnington, where the Colorado Avalanche are just a cheat code this year. And it's not, you still have to play the game in front of you. You still have to perform, but you look at how good that team is and you go, all right, it's not because of the goaltending that they're very good. It's because their roster is stacked.
It's all of it. Their goaltending has also been a lot better this year. It's ever since they changed out their goaltending from last year. It's been better. But that overall roster as a whole is just destroying teams basically on a nightly basis. And a good pull on Kemper, by the way. I almost forgot about him. He's also getting a lot of Team Canada consideration, as he should be. He's been great this year again.
And on the opposite side of what I was just saying, it is Team Canada. So Team Canada is going to also be stacked. So, hey, this goalie who plays well on a stacked team, maybe he can do it again in Italy. So at the end of the day, though, I think he should be getting consideration, but I don't think he's going to make the cut just because of everything else and the people in front of him. But it's been a hell of a year for him. Another player I just want to touch on quickly because we also have some other international hockey Penguins related news. That's a weird way to say that, but I digress. Brian Rust, I'm kind of in the same spot I was last time we talked about this. Think he's got an outside shot to be an extra for Team USA, but it's not an anti-Brian Rust or I'm saying Brian Rust is cooked kind of thing. It's, again, a numbers game. He's maybe if they would have gone 4 years ago, he would have had a better shot. But there's been so much better up-and-coming young talent that has surpassed him in the United States program that I think he gets squeezed out, which sucks for him because he has been a really good American-born player, but I don't see him going to Italy.
I agree, and I loved what Jake Gensel said about him this past week when he was asked about Brian Rust and Team USA. That said, he's not going to be there. I'd be fairly surprised. This is the deepest talent pool Team USA has had of my lifetime, and there's going to be other players left out, for example, that are better than Rust that should be there. So very outside shot for me. As for a couple other news and notes when it comes to international hockey, Ben Kindel not going to the World Juniors. Logic prevails. I got very nervous, Pat, when Cam Robinson tweeted out that Kindel was going to go to the World Juniors. I'm like, Kyle, can't be doing that, man, with where the team is standings-wise. His logic would probably be like, well, it's for development purposes. I think for development purposes, you need to keep him here with the way that he continues to get better in each game, the way that his line continues to live in the offensive zone each game. He's been a big part of the Penguins' success this year. You're fighting for a playoff spot. You keep him here. So it looks like logic is prevailing. It just would make no sense if he went to the World Juniors. God forbid he got hurt there, for example. As for Harrison Brunicke, he is going to go to the World Juniors. He was named to the Team Canada roster on Monday. It's the training camp roster, but he's going to be there once they start playing the games in a couple weeks, and that's the right call. He just finished up his conditioning stint in Wilkes-Barre, 5 games, 3 points. Get him some games at the World Juniors, and then you can make a decision on him after whether you're going to send him back to Kamloops or if you are going to keep him here.
Right, and you hit on a pretty important point there that if, say, this Penguins team was not really in the mix, maybe like a little bit out or even outright bad, and Kindel was playing fine but not playing to this level, or even if he was playing to this level a little bit, I could see the logic of sending him and saying, you are going to play a crucial role for Team Canada in very important high-stakes hockey. We want you to get that experience. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is the Penguins are in the thick of a playoff race, and if they keep playing the way they're playing, they might be in the thick of a divisional race. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it's not out of the cards. It's not like this is a year where the team at the top of the Penguins division is so far ahead that everyone else is just jockeying for the positions below them. And he's the third line center here. So he's getting that meaningful experience. He's getting that significant experience. You don't have to send him to Team Canada to get it. He's getting it right here. And the opposite goes for Brunicke. He got some time. He had some moments. He struggled a little bit. Now you go put him on Team Canada. You have him play in a more high stakes, more high pressure environment where he is going to be with more comparable talent. and he can really show that he is still on the right track. And if he goes over with Team Canada to the World Junior, I can't even say over, it's in Minnesota. So if he goes to Team Canada and he's a dominant force on their blue line, you can go, all right, let's give him another game. Let's see what he does. Let's see how he operates. And if we want to keep him here, great. If not, Kamloops doesn't stink anymore. Kamloops is having a solid season. So you're not sending him back to a rotten team, which means he'll, very similar to World Juniors, play a crucial role on a team that's playing meaningful hockey at a level that's more comparable to where he is right now. And then we revisit in training camp. So totally understand the logic here. And I was like you, when that report came out, I was sweating that they were going to send Kindel to World Juniors, but thankfully, cooler heads, logic prevails. The kid will remain with the Pittsburgh Penguins where he should be. But unless you've got anything to add about international hockey, Hunter, I think that's going to do it here for our middle segment. The Penguins, they're back in Pittsburgh. They ain't going anywhere for a little bit. We're going to get you set for this week when we come back right after this. But before we do that, we've got one more sponsor to get to, and that is our friends at FanDuel. NFL Sundays, they move fast, especially when you're watching an AFC North showdown between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. It always lives up to the hype, and one big play, suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes betting live with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting, it's best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, like, say, DK Metcalf getting hit with a couple deep passes. Defense tightens up, like the Steelers ending the game with a sack on Lamar Jackson, or the momentum tips or flips after a turnover, say, Pierre snagging the ball with one hand from Lamar Jackson on the Ravens. The live spreads and money lines, they adjust instantly as you're watching the game. Player props update as players heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, say 1 week from today when it's the Steelers and the Dolphins on Monday Night Football, and you want to think that maybe Unk is back, maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to toss a couple touchdowns, maybe Jaylen Warren bounces back and rushes in for a TD or two, you can do that right on FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long with FanDuel, where the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, wrapping up the Monday edition of Locked On Penguins. I'm Patrick Damp, running right alongside my pal Hunter Hodes, and big week coming up for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hey, you got hockey pretty much every other day this week. It's bliss. It's fantastic. We love having this much hockey at our disposal, and it starts on Tuesday. All games this week at PPG Paints Arena. Tuesday, tomorrow, the high-flying young Anaheim Ducks come to town after taking the wood to the Chicago Blackhawks this weekend. Then another young up-and-coming talented team in the Montreal Canadiens come to town on Thursday. Then you've got a weekend back-to-back. A young team that's going through it a little bit right now in the San Jose Sharks are here at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Good news for me. It means I can watch John Cena's final match on Saturday night, but I digress. And then on Sunday afternoon, the Utah Mammoth come to town. Both of those weekend games, 3 o'clock games. Hunter, not as big of a test this week, but it's a test in the sense that your first two games are young teams who are really starting to surprise. And while the Habs are going through some injury troubles, the Ducks, kind of like our Penguins, it's a team that a lot of people didn't have high expectations for, and they're surprising everyone.
Me, Pat. Like I said on the show countless times, I thought it was a year too early. I might look like a complete moron by the end of this season. This Ducks team is so fun to watch. Not only are they fast, they are deeply skilled. They have a bunch of great young players throughout this lineup, but they also have some good veterans who are also having good seasons, like Chris Kreider. But Cutter Gauthier has been great. Mason McTavish, Bennett Seneca has been great. I mean, Leo Carlson as a top line center has been awesome. They have gotten great play out of their forwards. Fortunately, Pat, Lucas Dostal is hurt right now, so it doesn't look like he is going to be playing in this game on Tuesday. That is a big break because I think he is one of the better young goaltenders in the NHL. We'll do a full preview on the Ducks for our Tuesday edition of the show. That is going to be a big test to start this week. Montreal, you said it, they have a little bit of injury problems. Their offense is also usually good. Defensively, though, that's where I think they're vulnerable. I think the Penguins can definitely get a good amount of high-quality looks against this Canadiens team. They had that fast start. They faded, a little bit. I mean, they're still top 3 in the Atlantic right now. They're 15-10-3, good for 33 points. But, they're 5-5 in their last 5 games. Again, their level of play has dipped a little bit. Utah, they just got some really unfortunate news. While we were recording, Pat, Logan Cooley out for the foreseeable future. Really sucked. The Pittsburgh-born kid is not going to be able to play in this one. He's one of my favorite young players to watch. And that Utah team, really nice start, but they have fizzled out a little bit. Like they're still in the race, of course. Like, you look at the Western Conference standings right now, 14-13-3 for 31 points, tied for that final playoff spot. And speaking of that, the San Jose Sharks, of course, will come here later this weekend. And hey, this is a different Sharks team than what we saw a couple months ago, where the Sharks were looking for that first win. They were completely out to lunch. They have really improved their play since then. Macklin Celebrini has just been on fire this year, and I think he has a great shot at making Team Canada. If he doesn't, he'll be on the next one, but he's giving the Team Canada decision makers quite a bit to think about, him and Connor Bedard especially. I would love to see both of them there. One of them may only go, though, but he has been awesome. I love watching Will Smith when he's healthy too. So that's a very fun team. And then even after that, Pat, Edmonton comes to town. And the Oilers, we all know how they've struggled defensively this year. Their goaltending has been rotten, but this is a massive homestand. The Penguins haven't played much at home this year. You look at a lot of the games they played, a good chunk of them have been on the road. So this is a really great opportunity to not only play some games at home, but to bank these points against teams that, are kind of right with you standings wise, points wise. So this is a big week. And you look at the schedule as a whole, every other day, basically for the next 10 days, like we can go beyond this week, Pat, after the Oilers game, tomorrow against the Ducks, Thursday Canadiens, Saturday Sharks, Sunday Mammoth, next Tuesday Oilers, and then next Thursday they go to Ottawa. It is literally every other day. That's where December, it's the gauntlet, baby.
And you're right. It's every other day all the way through the end of the year, with the exception of the Christmas break. Yeah. They'll be off from the 24th to the 27th, but you look at the rest of the schedule, like you said, next Tuesday, Edmonton, next Thursday, they're in Ottawa, next Saturday, they've got a home-and-home back-to-back with Montreal. They'll be in Montreal on the 20th, then in Pittsburgh on the 21st. They play their Christmas Eve game in Toronto against the Maple Leafs at 4:00. Then they come back from the break. They go to Chicago on the 28th, and then they finish the year at Carolina against the Hurricanes in Pittsburgh. I worded that horribly, but you get my point. Carolina at home on the 30th. So it's pretty much every other day for the rest of the year, with a couple of back-to-backs squeezed in. But back to the focus on this upcoming week. I look at this schedule, these 4 games coming up. I want 6 of 8. I want 6 of a possible 8, because that Tuesday is going to be a big challenge with Anaheim being as high-flying as they are. You said it about the Habs. They're not great defensively. The Penguins have shown against teams that aren't good defensively this year that they can make them pay for that. San Jose, it's still a young team. They're exciting, but there are a lot of holes still in that lineup. You have to take advantage of that. And then Utah, they're reeling right now with the injury situation and kind of coming off that fast start. So realistically, at the end of this week, I want to come back here on Monday the 15th and say this team got 6 of a possible 8.
I like it. The last time you said something like this, they basically hit/exceeded your expectations. So let's try to go 2 for 2 here. But, why not go for all 8? I mean, that's obviously going to be tough just because, It's hard to go on these long winning streaks, but with the teams that they're playing, I think there's a good chance that they continue this nice little streak that they've had since Muse called up a team again. They've won 4 of their last 6. I think the Ducks game, even though they were playing really well, is extremely winnable. The Penguins could have won that first game against the Ducks if not for that late power play goal from Chris Kreider. Montreal, they've struggled a little bit as of late. Utah's dealing with the injuries. San Jose, still very young. They're better, but they're still very young. A lot of holes in that lineup. I think every game this week, and even going into that next game against Edmonton, every game on the 5-game homestand is extremely winnable for this team.
Absolutely. So that is going to do it for us on the Monday edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Hunter and I are going to be back on Tuesday to preview the Ducks game and go over any news that might break between now and then. So for Hunter Hodes, I am Patrick Damp. Thank you as always for tuning in, and we will be back on Tuesday.